Hola, amigos. Welcome to the Do Nothing Project, our little experiment in virtual community Sangha. So, real people, real places around the world, and all meeting at the same time and meditating together. I'm happy to be back. I'm sorry I missed last week. My family has this little cabin in the woods about 2 hours north of Toronto. And I forgot that there's no internet up there. Basically, you get like really weak cell signal in some parts of the land. So no wireless, nothing like that. So, it's cool. It's really great to be able to unplug. So right now I'm in Ottawa. I'm staying at this friend's place because I'm in town to do a talk at this thing called Apex, which is this big conference of like seniors, civil servant executive types. So they're into this stuff now, and so I'm going to do a little presentation there. And I'm kind of tired because we had this housewarming party at our place in Guelph where we live now, Sarah and I, and so we had people all day long and dancing and music and a few beers, and the place got destroyed because everyone's got little kids now. Little kids just like, I thought, okay, nobody could make more damage than a bunch of 20 or 30-year-olds at a party. But it turns out they have nothing on 4-year-olds who destroy everything. So it was madness and a long day of cleaning up. And so I had to get up super early and get playing here. So we're going to do our meditation now. Good to see people. Lunenberg checking in. Sweet. Hey, Julie. And I love that this is going on. It just makes me happy to be able to do this. And I feel like I enjoy meditating with people. And this gets me practicing even if I would have been lazy otherwise. And I just love that, people watch it later, and it's a cool thing. So what are we going to do today? Well, because I'm tired, I was thinking about this practice that I like, which is sort of a luxurious practice of really relaxing. It's called ocean breathing, and it was taught to me by a woman named Mukti, who's the partner of a teacher named Adyashanti. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of them. They're a different school of sort of meditation teaching. It's called non-dual practice. It's another thing I'm really interested in. I kind of thread non-dual type vibes into the stuff I do here. We'll have to have a whole session sometime talking about non-duality. Just in a nutshell, the people who generally teach from a non-dual perspective basically say that they experience reality from a non-dual perspective. So they're sort of enlightened, or they no longer experience the self as separate in quite the same way. They feel themselves to be part of a larger system, you could say. And from the logic of that larger place, from the perspective of that larger place, there's a series of kind of common sense observations, which we would call wisdom, that are very soothing for people not in that place. Not as though there's a real dialectic between being there and not being there. I mean, this is kind of a paradoxical subject. But anyway, the non-dual teacher, they don't really necessarily give you a technique and then you kind of stay with it, although they are. The technique they're giving you to do is just notice that you're inherently free in this moment. And there's many different ways of noticing that. And anytime I'm talking about equanimity, I'm kind of putting those prompts in. But instead of trying to build up concentration or equanimity or clarity from the bottom, you're kind of popping in there from the top. That's why we call it a top-down practice. And you're just pretending to already be there in a way. And pretending to be there, guess what, can help get you there. So anyway, she gave me this one practice once we were talking on the phone that was just about chilling out the nervous system, called ocean breathing. And I've never forgotten it. She guided me over the phone. I've always thought I've come back to it. It's, there's lots of other practices that are a little bit like it. But I thought I'd lead it here. It can be done lying down, or it can be done sitting up. If you choose to do it lying down, be realistic. If you're going to totally fall asleep, then you're not really meditating. You're just napping, which is cool. Napping is good, but we're trying to do a meditation here. The idea is to see how completely and utterly still and relaxed we can get. Kind of going right down while staying aware. Yeah, so that was a lot of freaking blabbering. What time is it? 8:06? Let's do this. I had a meditation bell, but I don't know where it went. So I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to hit it with my cell phone. And we're going to meditate. So enjoy. Wait a second. That's more like a thunk. All right. That's third time's a charm. Okay, so like I said, if it's easy to get into a nice comfortable spot and you want to lie down and you don't think you're going to fall asleep, you can do that. But if you think you'll just nod off, then I'd recommend staying in a seated position. And actually, you can just do it fine in a seated position too. Let's start by taking a few deep breaths. As you breathe in, stretching up the spine a little bit. And if you're laying down, it's like you're breathing in, it's sort of like stretch yourself out, kind of in both directions. When I do the stretch, it's not just you're stretching up the spine, you're also stretching down the spine. So it's like it's going in two directions. Sense of just sort of opening. And then the out, and that's the inhale, and the exhale is like the whole thing kind of comes back and chills a little bit. And if you're lying down, then the exhale, you're really kind of feeling yourself, the whole body supported by the ground. Similarly, if you're sitting, you breathe out, you feel the feet on the ground, the seat on the cushion. This is a lot about the downward motion here, about the ebb and flow of the breath. So the next exhale, as you breathe out, I want you to kind of have your attention inside your body, upper part of your body, and then imagine as you breathe out as if you're going down this elevator shaft. It's a metaphor lots of teachers use, actually. Your attention is going down this elevator shaft. You're passing down through your throat, through your heart. Not a bad place to hang out, by the way. But we're going to keep going here. And land in the bowl of your pelvis. So bring your attention down into your belly, in other words. And the belly is where we're going to keep our attention for most of this practice. And notice, if you can, the very subtle rise and fall of the breath of the belly. And if for whatever reason you're not so into the breath, then just let the attention rest in the belly itself and just sort of let the breath be in the background. Don't be so concerned about it. And if you like, the breath can just play a more imaginative role, which it is going to in this practice, and the imagination piece is what starts by, I want you to imagine that you're kind of floating on the ocean. That's why it's a little easier when you're lying down, but ditto with sitting. Maybe you're in like one of those pink dinghies. And your body's sort of floating in the ocean, surrounded by the ocean. And with every in-breath, it's sort of like you're drawing in the tide. And on the out-breath, the tide's going out. The in-breath, the tide's coming in. And the out-breath, the tide's going out. And there's this sort of entrancing rhythm here of this rhythmic movement of the breath in the belly, this expansion and contraction, very subtle. So for the first little bit, see how into it you can get, how into that subtle movement you can get, and really surrendering to the imagery here. Imagine you're sort of dissolving in the water, and there's just this ebb and flow, this rise and fall of the tide. And you are that. Breath's moving you in this way. So hang out there a little bit. Good. And just being patient as you get settled here. It often takes a bunch of minutes to kind of start to feel more settled. So there may be thoughts going on. That happens just as usual with meditation, kind of letting them be in the background and reorienting to the subtle feeling of the tautness in the belly with the breath, soft breath, the rise and fall. We have this sort of image in our heads, or we have a kind of idea and a framework of the ocean, that we're floating in the ocean, or as we breathe in, we kind of rise up. As we breathe out, we kind of move down again. Our whole body is just in this very subtle, gentle way being rocked by this rising and falling water level. Maybe the metaphor is more like a wave than the tide. A long swell up and then down. We're just really relaxing into that. We're really trying to be in the belly. So often it's sort of like we're in our heads looking down the belly, and that's fine. But seeing if you can kind of really, like, all the attention kind of, as much as you can of it, kind of converging down there, as if the center of you is right on the inside of the belly. You're right there, right up against the edge of the skin is where it's like you live down there, floating right there. Tuned into the softest quality of this rise and fall. We have the intention here that this is really soothing, kind of trying to soothe ourselves in a way. If your attention wanders, you just bring it back to the steady rise and fall, even the softest rise and fall of the belly. We kind of have this imaginative framework that it's like we're floating on the surface of the water, and these long swells that kind of come up, take us up, and then down. And we're, with each breath, it's like we soften a little more, opening out. It's like as if we are almost dissolving into the water around us, even letting go of any sense of a meditator. Sort of this intention we have, this thing we're exploring. But awareness is there until maybe it isn't. Just breathing, softening. Letting it be simple. Not a big deal. An ocean breathing. As you breathe, the ocean rises and falls. It's like you're being breathed. This rhythmic, natural, just happeningness of the movement of life, the movement of the water, the movement of the breath. And if you wander off or get distracted, you can come back anytime. It's reestablishing that intention, which is what builds our concentration. Noticing the subtlest qualities, which builds our clarity. And really relaxing as much as we can to the whole experience, surrendering, letting go of our judgments, not trying to fight with sounds around us, with feelings, with thoughts, not in a fighting mood, in a drifting, oceanic, floating mood, building our equanimity. our imperfect selves floating, dissolving, breathing. Good. And we're giving ourselves this gift of something really simple, of just sitting or lying there and breathing in this most natural, simple way, appreciating the gentle rise and fall of the breath, the simplicity of the practice, this opportunity to take a break, to rest, just to be, not needing to prove yourself or improve yourself. This is a very simple healing orientation to ourselves. Okay, good. So as we're getting close to the end of the practice, of course, you can just keep going, keep floating, keep ocean breathing if you want, letting it continue. It's so good for you. But if you're getting ready to wind up, then you might have to reconstellate a bit, to reincarnate. Sometimes we can get so relaxed and dissolved, it's like we sort of disappear. We're coming back into the body. A couple of more pronounced, deeper breaths, feeling the container of the body. Feeling the hands on the knees or in the lap. If you're lying down, feeling them on the ground. Feeling the breath now for the whole length of the body, the belly, the chest. Feeling the heaviness of the body, the fullness of the body, the way it displaces space, its materiality. It's kind of like a homecoming. This old vessel serving us so well. Sometimes after meditating, I come into my body and I feel the way about my body, the way I feel about my car. Just this ancient Prius clank, a lot of affection. This body which serves us well. So maybe we'll do a little mini loving kindness thing here on the body. As weird as that sounds, just sending some affection to your own body, thinking about imagining it as sort of this hard worker. It's like always there for you. The breath, just like the breath is there for you. The limbs are there for you, doing their best. And smiling and appreciating that. Thank you, body. All parts of the body. Thank you, breath. Thank you, hands. Lungs, the whole heart, everything. Just appreciating, showing the body some love. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, or maybe your eyes are already open. Like I said, you can keep going if you're kind of in the zone there. Maybe tune me out. Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, it's interesting. I think just like, I often don't feel like meditating. I'll be like, nah, I don't really want to do it. I got this other stuff I want to do. Or I don't feel like teaching. And I'm like, I don't really feel like doing the do nothing thing. I don't feel like, doing the work of getting the cam set up and just want to read my book or do whatever. Tonight I just felt like sleeping. But almost always when I go to do it, I'm happy I did it. Really happy. I mean, it's all about this. You kind of forget, like in a very elemental way, meditation is about making things simple. And when the mind starts to settle, there are often fewer problems, which is such an elemental thing. It's hard to believe it until you've done it enough times, and you start to really get the contrast of it. After you've meditated, things just don't seem as fucked up as they did before. And there's that's one of the great benefits. So I want to answer a question here. Thanks, guys. And that's from my friend Julie, who has, hey, Irina, who's written here that she's barely meditated. I did a retreat at Omega a couple weeks ago, and she was there. Barely meditated since Omega. Don't know how to bring myself to do it when things aren't going well. So it's a great comment and a very important one. And it has to do with, it's not like every time we meditate, it feels really good or we get this reward of things getting simpler and feeling more chilled out. Often it's a disaster, or it's just the full catastrophe. It's challenging. We got a lot of strong emotions going on. We're physically uncomfortable. So what do we do with this situation? Well, what do we do in the situation from the big picture point of view of having a practice? For me, it's like you meditate anyway. This is why you get a routine. You meditate when it's snowing out. Snow, it's like the Zen monk, bad sitting there. It's like, and they got snow on their shoulders, and still they meditate. And it's winter, and then it's fall, it's spring, and there's rain all over them, and still they're meditating. And then the suns are out, and the birds are chirping, and still they're meditating. And then it's fall, and it's someone's thrown an axe at them. That would be stupid if they still meditated. But the idea is that through the weather of our internal lives and external worlds is continually changing, circumstances totally changing, you're up and down, still you come back, you do the thing. And you do it because the practice is in part not being not waiting for the reward of the temporary mind states. Yeah, you can get into a mind state that feels really good. You can be one that feels bad. You're not doing it for any particular mind state of the big picture. You're doing it because over the long run, it has this effect of changing how you are in the world. So you kind of have this understanding that it's the intention, the practice, the coming back to it, the staying with it that is the deep training there. And you stay with it when things are hard, and you stay with it when things are easy. And the act of staying with it is what allows you then to go be more deeply with it when the harder and harder times come. So it's just like kind of living through it. It's kind of how practice builds. And then of course there are certain times when like you're really, really, really in a place where you absolutely can't, I talk about this all the time. You're just way too agitated, or you got way too emotional reactivity, then you can shift into doing some more physical activity. But if it's at the point where you just can't sit and be with yourself for 10 minutes in silence, is that unbearable? That's also telling you in a huge way that you need support right now. You need to work on that. You need to find people who can support you to help discharge that, because that's not a normal thing. There should be a way, and I had to figure this out. It's like, oh, this is actually not a normal thing for me. The fact that I'm in agony and in neutral. When I'm in neutral, I'm in agony. That's fucked. So that's kind of telling you that not to meditate more necessarily, but that you need to do something to address that situation. So those are some thoughts about that. Very grateful to have you guys have this community. Awesome. Send me your questions. I try to get to them. I'm slow. I'm not that organized, but I'm going to try to be here for you guys on the regular. Sunday nights, do our sit together. Thanks, Julie. Hope that helped. You can send me an email in person. And there's my wife, Sarah. Nice, baby. Okay, guys, I'll see you next week. I don't know where I'll be. Maybe Toronto. I think actually I'll be in Toronto. So we'll do that then. And I'm working on a whole bunch of new meditations for 10% happier. Maybe I'll throw out one of those next week.